We're going to revisit a projector that I filmed approximately, I think I did this way back last summer, possibly earlier. This is the Kodak Moviedeck 455 that dates back to about 1973, so it is now 40 years old. When I found it in the trash, it was missing a couple of things. The top cover was missing and the front cover was also missing. Or the top cover was in horrible condition, one of the two. I don't remember which. And it just so happened that I know an older gentleman, older as in he's like 80, who wanted me to record his home movies or transfer them to film. So I jumped at the opportunity. And he said, oh, by the way, my sister-in-law gave me another projector in case you don't have one that works. And it just so happened that the projector that was given to him was the lower model of this one. And the projector itself was in bad shape. It didn't have as many features, and it had all the parts I needed to restore this one. So it was win-win. It even had a spare bulb, and I don't know where I put that bulb, but be that as it may, I put a brand new bulb in this one. I actually bought it online for all of $20, I think. Real cheap bulb. So we can open this up. Take a look at the unit here. The Moviedeck was an unusual projector for its time period. It was designed to be transportable, and it was completely auto-loading. It was a very, well, or semi-auto loading. It also handled Super 8 and regular 8. It has 2 speeds forward and 2 speeds back that it'll actually do 18 frames or 6 frames per second. And it rewinds and fast forwards and all that happy stuff. It's a pretty well featured projector for the for what was definitely the tail end of the home movie age. Well, that's not necessarily true. 1973 was probably in the midst of it. And it's not as well built as some of your, Bell and Howells and some of the old Keystones and Revere projectors. But it's well built enough to have survived 40 years. So I think they did okay. I have done no repairs to this projector. I basically took it from its from the electronics pile at the local dump and just plugged it in and ran a film through it, put a bulb in it, and everything was good. So let's take the power cord out. This projector has run countless hours of film, and just as long as I've had it. See, I actually ran almost 50 years worth of film through this projector, single-handedly. Let's see, the film's dated from 1953 to about 1985. So, yeah, about 30 years. 30 years worth of home movies. That was a giant tin can plus a bag full of Super 8s. And it ran them just fine. I was able to record them with a video camera. And I was going to use a transfer box, but I couldn't get my camera to sync up to it. It just kept acting up. So I just dimmed the light, or basically I filmed it at night so that there was no light leakage. And I filmed it off the wall, and that worked just fine. There was no shutter interference, and the end result was pretty satisfactory. So how we load this beast, which it's, again, very different from a lot of projectors that you guys have seen. We're going to switch this to run thread. Oops. Let's try that again. Actually, you want to put the film on first. We're going to use this Hell Drivers, Death-Defying Stunts. I bought this on eBay for a song and dance, and it was mainly so that I could get my my Revere projector running. For those of you wondering what happened to that Revere projector, it actually went to a friend of mine who had one just like it. and he took the two projectors and made one, so everything's good. To switch it over from Super 8 to regular 8, you just push down the spindle like that. The holes have to be up. It actually states that place real film perforations up. So it goes on like that. Just tighten it up here. This particular film, I believe, is from the late 1960s. And basically, just run it around this. This is the tension or slack adjuster here. And the perforations have to line up with that. And then you just run it down here. Watch this. This is so cool. We're going to do run thread. I'm going to open up the built-in viewer. Isn't that cool, huh? Alright. I'm going to select run thread. 6 frames per second forward. Start it slow. And you'll notice there's a take-up reel that immediately starts spinning at full speed. And you're supposed to control this with your finger to load it without breaking the film. So let's do that. I'm going to run my film through the slot here, where it will automatically pick up. And then it's going to pick. Actually, we do want to have that spinning so that it picks up there. And our film will start up any second. When that slows down, that means it's grabbed the film. There we go. Okay, there we go. We got the film fully grabbed, and we're out of focus. So, this is our focusing knob here. And I think I remember this being a problem. Oh, there we go. This is our frame adjustment. So, there we go. Hell drivers. Now I'm going to switch it over to 16 frames per second. There we go. And bask in the glory of the black and white fun of Hell Drivers was actually, if I'm not mistaken, a syndicated or traveling demolition or trick car driving show. One of the films that I had recorded or transferred, I should say, was of the Hell Drivers in Alaska, which was kind of interesting. I was going to slip this footage into his home movies, which were distributed to his grandchildren and children as well, to see if he'd notice, but I decided not to. What was pretty cool, though, is because he actually lived in the neighborhood that I grew up in, I got to see my old house back when it was new. I asked him if I could transfer some of the stuff to YouTube, but he was not very keen on that idea because I don't think he really understood what I meant by that. He actually had footage of John F. Kennedy in a parade back in, I think it was in Quincy, Massachusetts. Not Quincy, Lawrence. Uncovered, I mean, no bodyguards, just walking around, hey, how you doing, guys, you know, waving his hand. He was the governor of, I believe the governor of Massachusetts at the time. This projector works really well. I'm glad I found it, and I'm glad I was able to save it from the... I mean, it would have ultimately been crushed and shredded for scrap plastic and metal. I'm very grateful to have been able to salvage this unit. It is a very good running projector. I mean, the motor sounds good, everything sounds good, the shutter runs smoothly. It's just and it has this built-in viewfinder, which is great when you're just trying to, you know, sift through old footage. It can also be reversed, which is kind of handy. So this is paused. 6 frames, 16 frames. Let's do that again. That was kind of cool. Watch this. I want to be gentle though with the controls because of its age. You know, don't get too crazy with it. Alright, enough of that. This is a great little projector though. I mean, did I already say that? I think I did. I think I'm going to start buying old 8mm films off eBay. I mean, they can be had pretty cheaply. I mean, like home movie stuff, you know. You never know what you might find. Sometimes people sell their footage not even knowing what's on it. Like they found it in an attic or bought it in a yard sale. It could be anything. It could also be very bad stuff. And I don't mean stag films. One of my viewers had commented on, he bought some 8mm films on at a yard sale or something, and it turned out to be something really horrible, and he had to report it to the police. And it's kind of hard solving a crime that was at the time like 60 years ago, you know. But ultimately, you don't want to find that kind of stuff because it could be heart-wrenching. I won't say what it was, but you can figure it out if you think about it for a minute. But anyway, that reminds me of, speaking of stag films, when I was growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, there was an old abandoned shed, and I went in there with my cousin, and we pulled out like old ham radio stuff that we didn't know what to do with, and one of the items was a roll of, it was an 8mm stag film that somebody had made, and we were watching it with magnifying glasses and flashlights. It was like, we were what, 12, 14 at the time? Yeah, so. What amazes me the most, though, is the simplicity of the technology. I mean, basically you advance the frame, you open the shutter. Advance the frame, open the shutter. Advance the frame, open the shutter. But if you do it in sequence enough times, it becomes a movie. I mean, the concept is so simple, you know. So anyway, back to my Revere projector. I kept having issues where it would constantly skip sprocket teeth, and no matter what I did, I could not fix it. I had the whole thing apart. I cleaned and lubricated everything. Maybe that was it. Maybe I just didn't do it correctly. I used the wrong lubricant. But ultimately, my friend who took it, I gave it to him, because, you know, he gives me stuff all the time. He was able to use parts from that projector to build a fully restored, working Revere projector. I think it was a P90 or something like that. I don't remember the model. But he used it to watch and transfer his old childhood films. I grew up in the days after 8mm, so, I mean, I didn't have, my parents don't have 8mm films of me as a child. We have VHS tapes, but actually we only have one left, and I still have it, thank God, of me when I was a baby. But, so I didn't really get to grow up in the 8mm days. So I'm only discovering it, like most of you viewers are, you know, by buying up old projectors and watching old films that you have no idea what they are. How long is this thing? Does it say in the box here? No, it doesn't say. I think it's almost half an hour now, 15 minutes maybe? Can't be half an hour. Look at that. In order to do that, you're probably wondering, you know, how does someone actually drive a car on two wheels? Well, it's easy. Weld the spider gears in the differential, and you won't have any wheel slip. Or not wheel slip, but if you don't weld the gears, the wheel that's off the ground will spin while the other one won't. My dad used to do that in residential neighborhoods. I mean, it's not easy, but I mean, you have to, know how to drive a car, but it's not easy at all. So if I wanted to project on the wall, all I do is close this up, and the lens sticks out here. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Bulb replacement is done through this front door. And that's where all the instructions are obviously printed. There's the stage right there, and the shutter assembly. I'll slow it down so you can see the shutter. Even if I stop it. Now this doesn't have a separate cooling fan, it actually has a blower that runs off the main drive motor. And that's how it cools itself off. You can feel the air right here. Unfortunately, this particular unit doesn't have any method of turning the bulb off. Or maybe it does. Maybe it does. I don't remember. Check that out. So what if I want to rewind the film before it runs off the spool? Well, that's easy enough. All I have to do is press the stop button. No, wait. Slow it down. We'll set this to rewind. And that's going to rewind it through. If I don't do it this way, it's going to run this way. And no, the light bulb does not turn off. But here, let's do this. We'll stop it, and we're going to go forward. Run it off the reel. This is how you ruin film. Just for those of you not in the know-how. That is how you destroy film. But anywho, what we're gonna do. See, the reason that destroys it is, well, two reasons. Number one, it helps scratch the film easier, and the second thing is it actually can cause the film to break if it's fragile. Since most of this old film is already 40, 50 plus years old, it breaks easy, real easy. Now, to rewind the film the proper way with this projector, and this is really how it has to be done on a projector designed this way, because it doesn't have open reel-to-reel, it just, to make this fit in such a compact case and to make it so easy to use, they had to kind of skimp on the engineering a little bit. I'm not impressed. But line up the slot here, put the film back in there, in its little home. And then we're going to gently wind it up by hand, but you have to have it disengaged like that to do it easily. Alright. Let's do this again here. Let's try that. Okay. There we go. We're going to wind it by hand a little bit. Now, if this were a home video or an old film that was irreplaceable, I would do this by hand and be real gentle. But since it's really not, what we're going to do is select the rewind option. To do that, turn this knob, rewind, and it will now rewind our film. And of course, the light is on for no reason. So that's kind of a, again, engineering shortfall. Cheap design. It was 1973 after all, so. And then get ready to press the stop button. We don't want that film whipping around so much. There we go. And that, my friends, is how people used to entertain themselves in the old days. Long before I was born. I was born in 1984, so kind of didn't have to deal with any of this crap. But, you know, there isn't a way to run the fan to cool it off while it's off, to pack it away easier, but, it is what it is. Let's take a look at that light bulb again, now that it's off. To get access to it, you've got to pull this out, like so. I believe this can actually be removed. Maybe not. I'll open up this door here. The bulb is hot, but it's just a little projector bulb in there. It looks like an overhead projector bulb is what it is. Or what it looks like. That's all it is. That's all it ever was. And if you're really... No, I guess not. Okay. So, there you go. The Kodak Moviedeck 455 and Hell Drivers. Daredevil Thrills. 8mm. I like to see some of these horror movies. Or whatever they called horror movies. Now you could watch Charlie Chaplin on this and not miss a thing, because there's no sound. They weren't recorded with sound in mind. So. Alright.